Hail, hail, the Celts are here, and what the hell do we care now, guys? We've come off the back of a monumental point on the road in the Champions League, and Brendan Rodgers has shuffled the pack up to make sure that there's some good minute management in the squad, and we can look after the main squad, the best 11 players, throughout this crucial run that we're about to come, not just in the league and the Champions League, but across cup competitions as well. This game actually has seen 3 changes to it. Callum McGregor dropping out, seemingly relatively last minute, probably for Luke McCowan, and we also seen Paolo Bernardo starting in over Arnott Engels. With James Forrest, me and McBride Ace had predicted that one last week. He came in for the start, but not for Dyson Maeda like we expected, but for Nicholas Kuhn. And with Kyogo getting the start over Adam Ida, this is a squad that I had no preparation for. I thought was a very surprising team to see going out in this game, and I was really interested to watch how we actually shaped out tactically, as well as with the different personnel, the different players, with some of the substitutions that we've seen throughout this game, taking up some different roles and positions to what we normally see them in. This game was a great insight into where the manager sees the different players' strengths and weaknesses, as well as the qualities that they bring to the overall game plan and the route to goal. In the video today, we'll be looking at what we've seen from Celtic versus Motherwell, the 3-0 win, the good, the bad and the ugly, with red cards, non-red cards, as well as the standout players, player performances, player ratings, all that good stuff. At any point in the video, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. We are pushing for 10,000 subscribers and we are so close to hitting it. So if you do enjoy the video today, smash the subscribe button. It costs you absolutely nothing and it just means you'll get more content on Celtic just like this. Hit the like button, of course, if you do enjoy the video, and get into the comment section in this one and let me know. This one will be very interesting. What was your biggest takeaway from the Motherwell game? Whether it be any of the stuff we've seen in defence or midfield. I don't think we've really seen anything in the forward areas that was new or different or something to really chew over, but certainly midfield and defence, there was a lot going on in this one. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. Because two of the players that have really, I don't know if I'd say divided opinion across Celtic fans, but definitely two players that are on the tip of everyone's tongue over the last week or two is Paolo Bernardo and Luke McCowan, who both come in for very rare starts in very telling positions, very telling situations. Now, when the team sheet was announced, I was crossing my fingers and toes and I was praying that we were going to see Bernardo in the deeper position of the three. And I was, having a wee eye on, does the midfield resemble the sort of balance that we did see for Atalanta away? I was really hopeful that was going to be more the case rather than McCowan being in the McGregor role, and we see Bernardo doing what normally Bernardo does in these more advanced midfield positions. If in the opening, I don't know, like maybe 5 minutes or so, I would say McCowan and Bernardo were kind of double pivotish, like off the ball. They weren't too far away from each other. Bernardo was almost certainly the one closest to the defence at all times, but McCowan in the opening stages of the match was quite close to him. This gave Hitate the ultimate freedom that we've seen him have midweek, but he was absolutely everywhere again. In the opening 20-30 minutes of Atalanta and Motherwell, Hitate was all things to us in midfield, whether it be the guy we're trying to get on the ball to go and try and spring an attack and make something happen, drive through midfield, try and take someone out the game, play Valley, play Dyson Maeda in on the left-hand side, or whether it be whenever we had like corners or whenever we were really putting Motherwell in their own half, he was doing very well at recovering back in and, getting his hands dirty, as it were, getting stuck in the dirty work, winning the ball back and turning it over, playing it to someone else safe, and then getting himself back into that kind of advanced role. So he had a lot more freedom today, and it was great to see him clock up 90 minutes because we don't often see that too often for Hitate. And overall, like in this game, it was much more of an Hitate match rather than a McGregor match. Normally when McGregor does start, this position here is the one that gets the most touches of the ball, because normally the player at the base of midfield here is the one that is clearly dominating the pass count, clearly dictating the tempo of play. Are we playing on the left? Are we playing on the right? Almost everything goes through McGregor in this position, and that was one of the key differences in this match, is that not everything went through Bernardo, where we're getting the ball to Hitate and McCowan much quicker. Bernardo completed like 64 passes in this game, with Hitate on 46 and McCowan on 44, which is a much more even distribution. Normally McGregor gets into like the 80s and the 90s, and then the other two players are not got as many passes anywhere near that by comparison, certainly. But one thing I was hoping to see from Bernardo in this game that we never really got, maybe just because of the passages of play that we had in front of us or whatever, was to see him step into a counter-attack and really challenge it, tackle it, and stop them crossing the halfway line and making our centre-backs turn and face and run towards goal. But whether it be positioning, perhaps, or as I say, just the passages of play, because when Motherwell did win the ball and try and turn it over, they were really quick to try and slice it into these spaces here. And whether it be maybe, for example, Miller picking the ball up wide, driving inside, to then get the overlap. It was these little pockets in behind the fullback. It's almost always where they were trying to get the ball played into. And because that was their kind of route to go, maybe Bernardo just didn't have that many opportunities to be that Busquets, that defensive midfielder in this spot here. He did look rather clumsy in the first 15 or 20 minutes, getting the ball fired back to him from Schmeichel, and then it kind of bounces about and bobbles all over the place before Lennon Miller takes the shot and hits the ball off the bar. And then I think maybe about 5 or 10 minutes later, something not too dissimilar happened. The good thing with Bernardo is he's got a good nose for the game. He's got a good nose for the ball. We can see like he can show up in an area and disrupt the play, win the ball back, that kind of thing. Or maybe see where the attack is coming and just make sure he fills into an area. And this is something that we've seen a little bit more in the second half where, and again, depending on subs and who was on the pitch, we'll maybe rotate some players around. But normally when we are like recovering and then getting the ball back out from the keeper, but we've left a lot of players really high up the pitch, you will see McGregor drop almost into defence. And again, it's, you know, moving the ball from left to right, round whoever's pressing for the opposition, and then try and get the ball out wide from there. But whenever Bernardo dropped into these positions, he actually looked like a centre-back, you know, actually looked like a back three. And it just gave, I don't know, a bit of a different feel, a bit of a different vibe to the defensive like quadrant section of the entire squad, where it felt like Valley, although playing an inverted fullback today, he had a lot more freedom to just really be in this half of the pitch. We didn't really see him cross over to the right hand side too often, if ever, but he had a lot of freedom to be the best left wing back that he possibly could in this one. And on the left hand side, there was a lot of speed and there was a lot of one-touch passages of play, and it did feel like Valley, Dyson and Rio were starting to bring up a bit of cohesion. They're starting to get onto the same hymn sheet, as it were. And you know, when Motherwell hitting the bar a couple of times so early on this game, I don't know if it was ever on a knife edge, but it wasn't like we were dominating the ball and it was shot after shot after shot. It was just a little bit more even. It was a little bit more open. And anytime we were like getting into possession and doing our thing where we were pushing them back into their own half, Motherwell defended really, really smart for me. They either had Wilson out here just man-marking Forrest, or they'd have the boy Caleta just man-marking Maeda. And then depending on what side of the pitch the ball was on and where the extra man was, that sort of thing, whoever, like, so if the ball was coming down the left here, the boy Wilson would probably relieve himself a little bit of Forrest and then make this a back four nice and tight, and vice versa if the ball was on this side of the pitch. The Caleta guy would never really get too far from Dyson, but Dyson would tuck in, so it was quite easy to keep him marked, as it were. But I really like that kind of pendulum effect of their fullbacks and their back five that they did. It was quite smart. And then off the ball, this midfield that they've got here, where Lennon Miller is quite an attacking box-to-box type player. Whenever they were off the ball, whenever they were, you know, defending, especially in the first half, they made a nice box midfield here, which made it really difficult for us to play through the centre ground. It made it really difficult to get any slicing passes for Dyson to be one-on-one with the keeper. Same with Kyogo, that was just basically not happening. And it meant that because we're trying to tuck Dyson into the left-hand side so often, we were playing everything down the right-hand side. And really, in the opening stages of the game, I thought Forrest is probably going to have a good game here. He's probably going to get by this man once or twice, and, you know, not too many times, but get by them enough, certainly, where one of these chances that he can create from the wide areas on the right, one of them will get found eventually and we'll score the goal. But Forrest's game kind of started good and never really improved, really. If anything, it only kind of deteriorated as time went on. But we really struggled to get anything away from Motherwell here. This was a little bit reminiscent of how we defended against Atalanta, a little bit. Just tight spaces between defence and midfield, enough bodies in there where the attackers, although dangerous, just can't really be found or get a good enough touch to get away from the guy, to get the shot off, that sort of thing. And really, when the ball breaks for us, for McCowan's goal, McCowan gets the ball fizzed into this box here, this really crowded area from, I'm pretty sure it was Alex Valley. He takes a touch or two. It does ricochet off the defender's knees. He kind of dribbles by them before taking a shot. But this was the first opportunity in the match where we've seen someone really penetrate through the middle and be very direct to goal. Take the shot from the edge of the box, ask questions of the defence, put them on the back foot and make them think twice. And it's been there was a bit of a breath of fresh air around all of that, if I can say it, because having McCowan doing that on this side of the pitch, which really mirrored everything that we know that Hitate does, we've not had that symmetry across the pitch all season long, really, for the highs and the lows that we've had in midfield so far this year, with all the players really in particular. But this was the first time that it felt like both Hitate and whoever else was in this position today, it was McCowan, were just as vibrant and just as viable options for us to actually do some playmaking with, to try and carve open some space for one of the strikers, for one of the wingers, for maybe an overlap and run from a fullback to make something happen. Because although we're going down the right hand side time and time again continuously, we're really pushing pushing it to be that's the side we want to play down, because we want Dyson to be in as a second forward. We want to give Hitate the ability to come across the pitch into people's blind spots and then overload. It wasn't definite that we were going to be down the right hand side. It was just that's where we were the most often, because Hitate was right up for doing that on this side of the pitch. Dyson was right up for breaking into these types of spaces here and trying to fizz some balls in. And Valley, like we've seen every time he's pulled on the jersey, he wants to be involved in goals. He wants to be involved in wins. He wants to put in the best performance he possibly can. And that meant it was a lot harder for Motherwell to keep this defensive rigidity and discipline going through the match. And as soon as we do make it 1-0, this game plan, which is built upon counter-attack once they win the ball, to go and try and, arrowhead their way into a 2v2, a 3v3 situation. Very similar to what they used to do with Van Veen, but also this Stampedopoulos, I couldn't put his whole name on this, so I used his first name instead, Apostolos. He's not the same as like that prime Van Veen that we came across a few seasons ago, but it was very much the same sort of game plan. And really from the midfield trying to play out, I don't think they really got away with it because of our midfield. Bernardo isn't that deep McGregor player. He's happier to get in at this zone here and make it really hard and get in people's faces. Same with Hitate and McCowan. The thing with Hitate and McCowan is there's nothing passive about the pair of them. So, when they're trying to get the ball into Halliday, into Miller, this Davor guy, Sparrow, to then try and make something happen, we were just too close to them too often, and they just really couldn't do very much with it. And really, Valley, Scales, Trusty and Johnston, you could tell that was the exact same defence that played against Atalanta. They just looked an extra foot taller in this game. Valley himself, who I'd give a lot of plaudits to in this match, had another exceptional match. Should be 2 assists for him, but I think strictly speaking it is only going to be 1, because McCowan did fumble possession. Statistically, maybe lost possession, then 1 possession back in that sequence, which is why Valley probably won't get the assist credited to him. But Trusty, again, looked absolutely fantastic. Even being that left footer on the right hand side of defence, did absolutely great. And I was so happy to see Johnston do 90 minutes, score a goal and play as well as he did after the shift that he did put in on Tuesday. It was great to see him have the captain's armband in this game, because he's been somebody that I think we can all see as a leader, as a Celtic captain in the making, as it were. Which is a statement I've always been, I don't know if I'd say annoyed with, because he's never going to be the captain, because he's not going to outlast McGregor at the club. But in these types of situations, yeah, he's a Celtic captain, no two ways about it. And he really stood up and he really showed it today. And seeing him scoring that goal, especially getting an assist off Valle, left back to right back style, it just felt like that was the great way, the best way possible for Johnston to cap off his week, as it were. I actually thought he might have been subbed off after that for Ralston, just to give him a bit of respite, but no, finished the 90, which is absolutely fantastic. And then it gets extra interesting. We see James Forrest come off for Nicholas Kuhn, and then we see Valle come on for CCV. And I must admit, my instincts, my gut reaction to this was, wow, this is brilliant. We're going to bring Carter Vickers on for Valle, and we're going to see Trusty go out to left back, and then we're maybe going to see, we're speaking about this in the left back saga video on the channel a week or 2 ago. In case you missed it, I'll link it at the end of this one. It talks about all the left back situations we've got at the club, as well as Tierney, other transfer targets, Bernardo, a few other bits and bobs. I'll link that at the end of this one in case you missed it. But no, this isn't actually what happened at all. We actually seen Scales going back into left back in true Paolo Maldini fashion. That's proper Scaldini here. But what I felt this really gave us at this point was a 4-man defence, no two ways about it. Scales is originally a left back. For some of you guys with longer memories, you might remember he actually scored a world of a goal for Aberdeen at left back against Rangers. He definitely meant it. And, I was really curious when I seen it with Scales. Where are we going to see Scales as the inverted left back in this game? Where are we going to see him overlap? Or was this going to be 4 centre backs, and then we allow the rest of the team a bit more attacking freedom? And it was more that was what happened. Carter Vickers is coming back on to get his minutes against this guy Robinson. Tony Watt was on the pitch as well by this stage, with Maswanhis was the next substitution for them. And really, Scales, was still coming into these types of zones here to support the likes of Dyson and Hitate when he first came on. He wasn't bombing on, and he wasn't really inverted fullback as we've seen it with Valle and Taylor. But he would get in front of Trusty, and he would just be an extra body in here. But he'd be very quick to return and recover back into left back. And, it was really good to see all these guys on the pitch together, because defensively, I don't know if you could, again, Scales or Trusty on different roles or whatever. Pace is what you're worried about there against elite opposition. But if you were to really be backs against the wall situation in a really must-win game in Europe or something like that, It's nice to see that this combo has had now some sort of experience, and really, like, if we were to need to play really deep and narrow, that's not a bad back four to play with. And the security that this kind of shield back forward gave us, Johnston wasn't quite doing this as much. He definitely still was to support Quinny when he came on. But this meant that Bernardo just got a bit higher and just put them under a bit more pressure. And you've seen their box kind of flattened out and became a bit more of a line throughout the second half, and it just meant then we were really able to play on the edge of the box, and it really did feel that 2-0 wasn't going to be the scoreline for much longer. You could start to feel Hitate huff and puff through the game. He was desperate to get a goal or an assist in this one, and he was taking some shots. He was trying to play some passes that weren't really coming off, and McCowan's influence in the match I felt did kind of wane as the match went on. He kind of ran out of, I don't know if I'd say he ran out of steam, but it certainly ran out of influence in the match. Whether spaces for him kind of disappeared, whether Quinn was just getting on the ball more often and being a bit more direct to going straight towards goal rather than the little bit of triangle build-up play. And then in the 75th minute, we get some of the players that I thought would have started this game enter the pitch. Kyogo comes off for Adam Ida, and really Kyogo looked pretty dejected when he came off, and I'm actually going to stick with that wonky way. I quite like that. Ida. Adam Ida comes on for Kyogo, and Engels comes on for McCowan. And I do think Engels did feel like he had a wee bit of a point to prove coming on in this game. I don't think he did anything exceptional, but he seemed to be a little bit better at McCowan in this kind of role here. And I don't know if he's like sat on the bench and like learned from McCowan or whatever, but see, from like sitting on the bench watching the game unfold, seeing the position you're going to be playing, the man you're going to be up against, where the spaces are, what passes are on and what passes are not on, it can give you a bit of an advantage when you do come on as a substitute. It can give you an extra edge in the match, as it were. And I did feel that Engels had a little bit of that. He had a bit of confidence. He had his power, pace, and his technique, of course. But I did feel that he was just being a bit braver, a bit quicker, and like charging up the field or with some of the passes he was making. And it was good to see that from him. Despite not starting the match, he's came in and looked pretty impressive, pretty keen to impress and try and get himself on the scoreline in some way, shape, or form. And then as we started to huff and to puff, and with these extra subs, and look at this team. This is a team that could have started the match. You know what I mean? This is the real quality that we have going through the squad now. Even with Scales and a left back, it's not really much of a handicap when these are the players and this is the team you're up against. But we get Kuhn fizzing himself down the right, smashes the ball across the box, and Adam Ida crashes the ball in to make it 3-0, and what a result it ends up being. But this is a game where we've seen a lot of different things happen. We've seen Scales come in at left back. We see Bernardo get 90 minutes in the McGregor role. Like we've been saying on the channel, is clearly his more than it's more his natural habitat. He wasn't ever, and I know when Motherwell really banked in to be two lines towards the end, he was around this kind of space a little bit more. But when he's not got that pressure to carry the ball up the pitch or to spray a pass, cut open the team, he just felt like today for me, Bernardo's positioning was 10 out of 10. He was always in the right place, defensively to cut off the passing line to make it look really difficult, or to be in the right space for us to get an easy pass out to. But he was still, and again, because McGregor's dropped out quite last minute, I don't think he had any prep for this position coming into the game. So he was doing a lot on autopilot from just being in the squad, knowing the squad's positions and the job of the player in this position. But I don't think he'd done that great, to be quite honest with you, like in terms of the passing he was making. And again, you can't compare him to McGregor's passing, because that's clearly his USP, his strength in this area. It's how he can knit the ball in one or two passes, move it from left to right really quickly, how to be safe, command the team, move us across the pitch, etc. But he wasn't too far off being like a proper pass mark in this position. And I think considering he was chucked into the deep end, and it's the first time he's played in that position for us, and it's the first time he's played in that position for a little while, I think he did pretty well. And I do think that seeing Hitate again get 90 minutes in this role here should further highlight and underline to every Celtic fan, especially the ones that tune into this channel, that he is the attacking midfielder. Bernardo is not. Engels isn't really either. Engels is much more box to box. We'll do a bit of this, we'll do a bit of that. I think people do believe Bernardo's got that in him, but when it gets to the final third, that's where I start to have questions about Bernardo. It's just that final third element, that final third presence. So we've seen Bernardo get 90 minutes in this position, and I know he's not on the screen now, but seeing Luke McCowan get 90 minutes in a box-to-box position here when this position was open. Again, we were discussing on the channel a wee bit last week. It might have been me and McBride on the Thursday night stream. But McCowan, I know he played this position for Dundee for a couple of games because he was a captain and stuff, but he is a guy that can get goals and assists. You just need to look at his Dundee record. You just need to look at his short Celtic record already. So seeing McCowan get a significant portion of the game in this position as well, not being shoehorned into this position to then play Bernardo out here, which would have I'm really glad that this is the way the midfield went. I think we've seen a lot of great things from it, is what I'm trying to say here. Seeing Carter Vickers come back in, but to partner Trusty as the centre backs is something that I don't know what to make of that until we get to the Dundee match. I do think that Carter Vickers will come back to start at home against Dundee, but between Scales, and I think that Scales is originally a left back, which is maybe why he went out here rather than Trusty, although you would maybe think that that would have been the partnership to go with, but maybe you give them a chance to play next to each other. I just can't imagine how you drop Scales from this team when it comes to, midweek against Dundee and really going forward, Aberdeen, Champions League with Leipzig and everything else. But that I thought was really interesting, that it was Trusty and Carter Vickers he went with for the centre-back partnership, and then Scales can do the left-back shift for the final 20 or whatever it was, fine. But yeah, I just thought that was quite telling. And I actually thought we would eventually see Scales come off for Taylor, which didn't happen, and makes me think that Taylor might be a week behind where Vickers was. Vickers was in training but not in the squad for like a week there. Last week against Ross County or whoever it was, then at Atalanta, and obviously he's come off the bench today. So maybe we see Taylor off the bench against Dundee. We'll preview Dundee in more detail on the channel a little bit closer to the time, of course. But like I said before, like the front three, I don't think, whether it be Forrest and Kyogo who started, where are my manners? We did also get Palma on for Dyson for a very insignificant period of time, and I think other than one kind of attempt he had, he really should have scored it. I don't think there was anything there for Palma. But again, another similar, interesting little detail here that Palma is now ahead of Yang. He's now the next winger off the bench. If we're going to change the full front three across the match, Palma is going to get minutes at the moment as it stands. And looking at the team that finished this match, I don't think you could imagine this team starting a game with Scales at left back, Palma on the wing. This was when Palma did come on and Taylor didn't, I couldn't believe we were playing Palma and Scales on the left hand side. It's a good thing we were 3-0 up, I'll put it like that, because I just think in days, weeks and months and years gone past, Twitter would have melted with Celtic fans going bananas. Scales at left back and Palma on the left, but it wasn't really that sort of day. It wasn't really a problem at all when it was all said and done. And looking at the statistics coming out of this game on all the player ratings from 0 to 100, depending on the positive actions that they've taken in this match, you can quite clearly see the difference that we're talking about in midfield. Callum McGregor normally does get significant passing statistics. 64 is still pretty good. But with Bernardo only winning one tackle, not making an interception, and winning 2 duels having lost 3, so -1 duels there, a couple of balls into the box, we've taken corners and stuff as well. This position wasn't as influential in the match, and we've seen the defence. Look at the defence. Alex Valley, 87 out of 100. He got his assist. It should have been 2. He's got his shot on target. 2 attempted assists, 7 balls into the box, a big chance created. 67 accurate passes, the same amount as that pivot, that defensive midfielder that's normally McGregor. But 26 accurate passes into the final third. He's got his interception. He's won a tackle, which is not too bad in that wide area. A couple of balls into the box. And he got fouled a few times as well, which is always good, winning us some free kicks and all the rest of it. Scales on an 81, absolutely imperious. And I thought when he played at left back for the last couple of minutes, he might have just really shot up to 100 with maybe some crosses into the box, but that wasn't to be. A bunch of effective clearances like you would expect. 97 accurate passes in this game, which is very, very normal for Scales. Only 4 missed passes throughout the entire game. Lots of duels won, 8 with only losing 5, which is net +3, which is fantastic. And in the attacking sense, I actually thought Scales was going to score from a corner today coming into the weekend, but no shots on target. He did go up for corners, but he was sadly never found. Auston Trusty, one of the highest rated players of the game. He's got his clean sheet bonus there, of course. He's won a tackle. 148 passes. He was the one with the most passes in this game by a long stretch. 21 of them got into the final third. 36 of them were long balls into the opposition. That might be from left to right on the diagonal. Might just be further up the line into Forrest. Incredible stats from Auston Trusty, doing very, very well on the ball there for us. And in my man of the match, the top rated player on the day, Alistair Johnston, 100 out of 100 on his match rating. If it could go over 100, it would have been 115 out of 100. He's got his shot on target. He had a big chance created. 6 balls get played into the box. 83 accurate passes. He's won 8 duels, only lost 2. with 29 balls into the final third. Absolutely fantastic. 3 tackles won as well, which is absolutely incredible. He was fouled 3 times, only gave away 1 foul himself. And for me, Captain Johnston was the man on the day. Luke McCowan comes in with a very impressive 75. He had his 2 shots on target, 2 contests won, a few balls into the box, which is good fun. 44 accurate passes. Like we mentioned before, no tackles or any interceptions, anything like that. And really everyone else was, I don't know if I'd say meh. Hitate on a 54 here. Again, he was at the centre of everything, but Hitate, 18 possession lost is what kind of holds him back statistically. But 5 duels won with only losing 3. No interceptions, 1 tackle, which is fine. 46 accurate passes, 20 of them in the final third is very impressive. And out of these 18 possession lost, 17 of them are missed passes. That's the bit that boils everyone's piss, I think, with Hitate, isn't it? 7 balls into the box, 2 shots on target, a bunch off target as well. He did okay. And if he did get a goal or an assist, his overall performance would have looked a lot better. James Forrest with a very impressive 62 out of 100, despite no goal or an assist. 3 attempted assists in this game, so balls he's played in that have led to a shot on target. 5 duels won with only losing 2, 37 accurate passes, 21 of them in the final third is really good, with only 3 passes lost. And wee Jamesy has won 2 tackles in this game out in the wide area, so well done to him. Carter Vickers off the bench, wins a tackle, gets 2 interceptions and wins 3 duels while only losing 2, and still collects 31 accurate passes, despite only playing 22 minutes in this game. Paolo Bernardo got 90. Nothing in the attacking sense from Carter Vickers, nothing out of the ordinary there. Adam Ida, was he just about his goal? 1 shot on target. He did have an attempted assist and a big chance created for someone else. And he also had a big chance missed for himself as well. How could we forget? Other than that, yeah, he didn't really do too much. 4 passes and whatever else. But Nicholas Kuhn off the bench with a 72. He's got his shot on target, a big chances created, 2 attempted assists. And really not too much else. A tackle won as well. Very well done on the wide areas from him. And I think you can see overall it was all about our defence, pinning them into their half. And really that's where the burden of the passing really came from. And really the bench looks to be what's won it on the day. But I think when we've watched the game, that once it went 1-0 up, you know, we were very much in control of the game. Big Schmeichel finishes on a 73. Another clean sheet to his name, which is great to see. 1 missed pass, 25 accurate passes, which is good. And in terms of saves, he's made 2 saves, 2 from inside the box. A good high claim, a punch. Good day at the office for ye old Casper. And I think this is a game where, again, like, it's just about building the confidence, getting the wins under our belt and rolling from game to game to compound this really good winning, or not winnings, we drew by Atalanta, but in all competitions, you know, we're on an upward trajectory. And seeing a game like this where so many of the squad have contributed, a totally different starting 11 by all accounts, really, for all intents and purposes, and the team that finishes the game almost being the one that we predicted to start the game. It's a great place to be at the moment. I hope you enjoyed the game as well. I'm really looking forward to catching the comment section of what your thoughts and feelings, your big takeaways are from the game. On screen are now some other stuff that we've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy, including that left back video that I mentioned. That left back video that I mentioned earlier in case you missed it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more content like this. Hail, hail, and Mo the Hoops.